Good evening and welcome along to the latest edition of the Endless Celts Podcast. The Monday night team is very punctual once again. Just didn't like starting at 8:30. But we've got a wee. How's your cell, Anthony? Just a regular. How you did?
Not too bad. Much better weekend this one than last weekend. Got to say, very interesting talking points I think we've got today. Maybe doesn't look that appealing on the face of it, but today there's a fair few things to get through, Franny.
There is that, and we've got someone new for the Monday Club tonight. He's filling in for the other Anthony, making things a wee bit easier for me. How's yourself, James?
I am all good, mate. I'm pulling the Tony Ralston tonight. I've come off the bench to fill in, but now looking forward to it. A wee bit more positive after the weekend, at least anyway.
I know. It's always. I mean, I know we obviously won against Hibs midweek, but I just felt like the weekend's result felt a wee bit different. But first of all, just welcome along everybody. It's in the comments and that. And again, sorry for holding these up, but you should be used to it being on a Monday. It's what happens. Just kind of before we get going, we'll look at the Super Six if I can remember where we put that. So it's here. I think Alistair Jack still out in front, Kieran Gahula is second, Mark Robertson, Stephen Coulthard, Joe Finlay, Anthony Dunn, Kevin Hampsey, Ryan, Marcel in ninth, and I actually didn't ken who's in 10th, but it doesn't matter, miles away. But we'll just kind of get into it, James. We'll come to yourself first, and that's just a wee brief overview of what you thought of the game and how it went on Sunday.
I said on Friday that I was looking for a performance. Obviously, you want the result. The result takes care of itself if you get the performance. I think the performance was better. It was definitely better. I think obviously the changes that we made kind of played into that. Obviously, Kyogo getting his goal. I still don't think it was where it should be, but it was definitely a step in the right direction.
And I thought it was, for me, I think I said in the chat as well, it was satisfied after that game. It just felt a wee bit different, Anthony, for the Hibs game. I think the Hibs game had a wee bit of smash and grab, but it got a wee bit lucky, whereas I think in the main, we kind of controlled Sunday's game. But just yourself, how was your sort of a brief overview of the game and stuff? I'll kind of get into it more.
Yeah, likewise with James. I think I said that last Monday as well. We were looking at the midweek game last week that you want to see a performance, and we didn't get that on Wednesday, and I still don't feel like we fully got that at the weekend either. But the result was a lot better, and I don't think we felt too threatened. I think the backline, as makeshift as it was, held up quite well, and it's there's positives being taken out of it, Franny. Definitely positives to go forward with.
Well, there is positive. Like it's a way sort of pushed on for Wednesday. It's got to be hard to say. It's got to need a few games for that to fully say that we're on the right path, which seems strange when you consider. I think we've won 8 games for 9. It seems quite mad saying that, but I think performances haven't been great and stuff. But I will just kind of get in it. Like it did have a proper cup tie feel about it, Anthony, and stuff, where it was. Obviously, St Mirren had their chances and things, but I think obviously we got off to a great start, and we'll kind of talk about Kyogo's goal and stuff in the build-up. I thought another great start for us. We have, in fairness, we've started quite a few games decent. It's how we've finished the games for the second half easily, but it was for me, McGregor's pass and Palmer's pick out, and it was good to just kind of see Kyogo back in the goals really.
Yeah, seeing Kyogo, was that 9 games he went previously, not right off the back there, but yeah, I think he went about 9 games just over the kind of Christmas period or just before. He's a bit slow with the goals, but then once he gets one, he gets 2 or 3 in a row sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Hopefully we see that. Hopefully we see it kicking on the whole team. But I think both goals were well worked. Both goals, good team play. Everybody kind of played their part in it. But it's good to see guys like Kyogo, and just to touch on Maeda, obviously getting his goal as well. You've seen the attackers getting the game, getting the goals now rather than just the midfielders. People are starting to get involved again.
And it was good. Like for me as well, obviously Kyogo looked like he was maybe playing the 10 a wee bit, James, and stuff. And you just, when you see the goal, you see sort of delaying his run, he just bursts in, it gets a wee deflection going through the boy's legs. We don't know. It probably still, for me, it maybe still goes in. I think when you shoot for that sort of range and it goes through a defender's legs, it generally puts the keeper off. But don't know how you sort of seen the goal, what your thoughts were and stuff.
It was a bit out the blue. Kind of even when it went in, I was still a bit shocked, to be honest. It took it kind of really early, and just the kind of way of the finish. I don't know if there's maybe a wee deflection on it. It kind of takes it further away for the goalkeeper. But the Kyogo in the 10, I know we kind of tried it at the start of the season a wee bit, but I think that was probably the best Kyogo's looked in quite a long time in terms of overall performance. Not just in terms of goals, but and obviously I think Adamida playing up front will play a big part in that, because obviously when you think of Kyogo, you're thinking about running off the shoulder and then kind of cheating the offside and getting on the cutbacks and things like that. But Adamida being up there, it'll free up space in behind. He's occupying the defenders, and I think that's where the goal comes from. So happy enough, and I just hope we stick with it, because I'm sure we'll come on to it in the second half. But it felt as if when we made the subs, the performance did kind of dip a wee bit. So hopefully we'll stick with the two strikers.
Nah, I thought it did seem to suit us a wee bit better. The two strikes, it felt it's something we've been crying out for a wee bit of change, but we'll kind of talk about the change of shape in a wee bit. But we'll just kind of go into Maeda's goal. Another great play by Palmer. I felt he put a lot of good work in at the weekend and stuff, even defensively, and he was going by his man, which is a bit of a rarity. He doesn't seem to like hitting the byline and crossing in Anthony, but obviously it digs out a good cross. O'Reilly comes in, it's unlucky to hit the bar, but Maeda is there at the right time just to prod it home, and his celebrations, they were, he celebrated that goal well, did he not?
He seemed really excited and enthused by that goal. Great to come back from the international campaign and get a goal. Showed it wonderfully. It was a cracking goal, probably the better of the two, and two goals were quite good. But credit to young Bernaby as well. That run he made on the outside for Palmer to create a bit of space, that was absolutely superb, wasn't it, James? I think Bernaby did quite well in that, to be fair. He offered himself some space, and he offered himself for the pass, but Palmer knew what he was doing. He cut in a little bit. He got the cross into Matt O'Reilly, was absolutely pinpoint accurate. The shot from O'Reilly was superb. To just hit the bar was extremely unlucky. But there's Daizen Maeda doing what Daizen Maeda actually does best: be in the middle and get onto a loose ball, or get onto the end of a long ball sort of thing and kind of run onto something. In the middle, Maeda can just pop up and just hit reactionary, just hit the ball on a quality goal. Just don't put Maeda at the wide. He's not very good there.
I see. I mean, it's hard to disagree with Maeda. Like, some of his crossing yesterday was absolutely woeful. It was horrendous. But I don't know. It's with me with Maeda. I think he's a terrible, terrible football player. But he's probably one of the first names I'm putting in a team sheet I don't know how to explain it, but I'm probably always putting him in the team. I just think his pace troubles defences, but his crossing is terrible, but I would always kind of put him out there. I don't know what you thought about the goal, James, and I don't know if Stephen's just trying to wind you up saying Bernaby's been the best player the last two games.
He's definitely been the best left back the last two games, that's for certain. But no, just on Maeda, I think Maeda 100% obviously is a place in the squad for him, but games, I know he scored, so it's a bit of a kind of contradiction, but I think games like the weekend maybe only suited to him as much, on a kind of tighter park and things like that. For me, Maeda's best work is still done defensively, so maybe your kind of trickier away games, the games against Rangers, then there's a place for him in the starting 11, but I know you are defending Bernaby, but for me, Bernaby makes Maeda look like Pirlo in terms of composure. Having the two of them in the team, it's just, I mean, overhit crosses galore, we've seen 100 times, but in terms of what we've got available to us, the new, for the time being, I would go Palma and Maeda, if no Palma and Kuhn, and look, Kuhn has kind of been hot and cold since he's come in. Granted, it's a bit hard to judge him after not even 3 games. But based off what we've got now, that's what I'd be running with. Palma and Maida with a view of bringing Kuhn in to take Maida's place.
Maybe I think whilst Bernabei's in the team, I think you need Maeda just there to help him out to do the defending, because like I say, like I thought he had an okay game yesterday, Bernabei, but I think Ross summed him up right. Just he's not really got a clue what he's meant to be doing when he's got the ball. He's got all the heart in the world. I'll give him that. It'd be easy for him to sort of go into these games with his head down, because he can't be daft to the noise that's happening on social media and stuff, where it's, apart from Stephen, it's hard to find anybody that actually thinks there's a football player in him. But so I suppose you've kind of got to give him a wee bit credit for giving it his all. But for me, he'll never do. And if Bernabei's playing, I would have Maeda sort of just to cover for him. But I understand where you're coming from. Maybe looking to maybe try and get Kuhn in the team and stuff. But we'll kind of go to Brendan Rodgers and how we kind of touched on it briefly about him starting with 2 up top. Maybe for me it looked more like sort of a 4-2-3-1 maybe type formation. Stephen had some random fucking 4-1 whatever it was. I don't know how he worked his formation out. But it could have maybe been a 4-4-2 as well, with Kyogo just sitting slightly deeper. But what was your thoughts, James, when you obviously seen the 2 up front and stuff?
I was delighted because it's like something needed to change. We couldn't just keep going with this 4-3-3. And look, I know we've got results. I know we obviously didn't get a result in Aberdeen, but like the Hibs game, we got a result. The performance was dreadful. Ross County, we got a result. The performance was dreadful. And you can't just keep limping from game to game, just expecting that it's going to magically improve. So we had to make a change, whether it was going 4-4-2, which isn't obviously popular these days, or that kind of 4-4-1-1 that we basically played, or however you want. As I said, everything's a kind of variation of 4-3-3 really these days, but just something had to change, and having the focal point up front with Ida, it occupies the defenders, it frees up that bit of space in behind, as we see that's how Kyogo got his goal. But I was delighted with the starting lineup. No, even just in terms of having 2 strikers, but just in the fact that the manager had acknowledged that we had to do something different. We couldn't just keep persisting. Whether we went 4-4-2, whatever it was going to be, we just had to change something, and that for me was the massive positive for the day.
I totally agree. Like, I think we're all sort of it's almost unanimous in the support that we had to do something different. Maybe get 2 up front. We were forever saying that the system's not really working for Kyogo, and maybe somebody like Adamida or that type in would get him up there. Seen Stephen's comment there, obviously brilliant to Friday when you and Willie were talking about him.
I mean, Willie were advocating Kyogo in the 10, and Stephen was dead against it for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but obviously he gets his goal and he proves me and Willie's point, and he shuts Stephen up, didn't he? So
what you'll find out, if you ever watched all of this podcast, Stephen, that old phrase, he throws enough shit at the wall and something will stick. That's the way Stephen works in this game. That's the way Stephen works. You'll learn to go on with it. But what about yourself? As I say, Anthony, I think we were all sort of advocating for some sort of change and going to that sort of frowned upon formation. I feel like that James mentioned the 4-4-2.
It actually took us all by surprise, to the point where I never looked at the defensive line until the game started and realised how shit it was. Just to see 2 strikers up front was magical, to see it, that we're actually willing to try something different. And that, as I said in the group chat, and I said on some of the forums as well, the fact that the manager's acknowledged that and he's went and tried to change something tells you that he's doing his part. It was then on to the players to do their part. And it was only just this past week as well that you have to remember Rodgers has came out. And it sounded a bit daft, and it still sounds daft, but he came out last week and he made that comment that he's not asking the players to play any different than they were playing last year. But looking at the tempo and the speed of the game, and looking at how we pass the ball around a bit too lethargically, shall we say, it definitely looks like they're playing different. So the fact that he said that, and then he's went into this game and says, right, something needs to change a little bit here, and he's actively went out to do something. All credit to Rodgers. He's doing his part. The players now have to do their part, and they did. They started well in the game, and it showed. Weirdly enough, he acknowledged it was a 4-4-2. Viaplay put up the team lineup as a 4-4-2, so it was a 4-4-2 meant to be. But Kyogo most certainly did drop back quite a lot to be more of a 4-4-1-1, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't quite the number 10, but he's definitely sitting a lot deeper than you would expect or want him to, which isn't a bad thing considering that's how he got his goal, coming from deep to latch onto the ball. But no, it worked well for us. We got a couple of good goals out of it, and credit where it's due with the manager. He tried something different and it paid off. We just need the performance really to crank up a bit more.
Well, maybe it's like you say. I think I wouldn't classify, say, defenders are maybe sussing Kyogo out in his movement, but I think him playing that slightly deeper role, like the 10 or the false 9 is the trendy one as well. You can use that movement there, and I don't know about yourself, James. Do you think this is a formation we'll be utilising certainly moving forward in the sort of interim?
I would like to think so. I definitely think we'll stick with it. With Kilmarnock at Parkhead at the weekend, but the week after it will be interesting. I'm sure it's Motherwell at Fir Park, which is a tricky away game. I know Motherwell's maybe not having the best of seasons, but it's still a tricky place to go. So will we kind of stick by it, or will we, I don't want to say bottle it, but maybe just kind of revert to type and go to the 4-3-3? I really hope we don't. And as I said, even just based off the game at the weekend there, and let us know having a go at Bernardo, but when Bernardo came on and we kind of went back to the formation and the players that we've seen for the last wee while, it kind of tailed off noticeably and pretty quickly as well. So I'd definitely be going with the Kyogo and Ida up front. Kyogo and O and Ida, whoever it is, just change something. Just don't go back to the way it's been previously. And I think that maybe it was just me, but I noticed a wee bit of a difference in the wingers as well. I think there was a couple of times that Palma actually got to the byline, and if he's done it twice in a game, that's twice more than he's done it all season. I think it was the same at the other side for Maida. I think he probably smashed a couple of indies when he got to the byline, in fairness, but he was still kind of getting there. So as I say, that for me, obviously the results are positive, but I was delighted that we noticed that we just can't keep going. Even though we're scraping by in games, we couldn't keep going the way it was going because we were kind of sleepwalking into a disaster, and he's changed it. And as I say, the performance, it still wasn't, I wouldn't say it was a great performance. It was at times kind of turning into a basketball game, but then part of that probably is the fact that it's a one-off game for St Mirren, obviously in the cup as well. So, it'll be interesting to see the lineup on Saturday, but I imagine he'll stick with the 2 up.
Let's hope he does. I mean, I hope he does do it because it feels like the team, Anthony, needed a wee bit of freshness. That kind of gave us it gave the fans a wee bit of freshness because it felt like we were all asking for it to try and get 2 up front. And I know James was saying obviously it'd be interesting maybe looking kind of ahead to Motherwell. I feel some looking at it might suit us to play the 2 up front in these sort of away games where it's tighter, and Kyle will maybe find these spaces where the teams are maybe playing that low block, whereas at Celtic Park it's a bigger pitch and stuff. You might be able to justify going back to type and playing the one up front that doesn't feel like it's working so much. But I think it would maybe be more suited to these away games playing the 2 up front. I don't know how you see it.
I think it would, to be honest. We've had this problem for a decade plus now, where other than Ange coming in his first season and playing something a bit different, teams kind of figures out quite quickly. And this, 2 banks of 5, 10 men behind the ball thing that they do, it stifles our game completely. And we notice it so much more under a Rodgers team that if we don't get the space in the final third, we're happy to pass the ball back and just pass around the midfield in the middle of the park quite generically. And it's all good having pass stats and possession stats, but if you're not actively doing anything in the final third, it means very little. And that's kind of where the frustration got with Rodgers in his first term, and you're already seeing it just now this season, albeit he's got a lot of issues with people away for international and injuries and all the rest of it. So it's a hard one for him to do, but if you're going to try and do something to combat that low block and the 10-9, if you're not going to play the high tempo, the really high tempo of the we never stop attitude of Ange, then perhaps playing 2 up top and 2 wide men who are very heavily attacking, so practically 4 attackers, let alone whoever's in midfield. Maybe you do need to just overload that final third, but at the same time, the players need to do a bit more. And I would like to think that playing the 2 up top and a guy like Adam Ida and Kyogo, the little and large thing, maybe we'll just bring back that little bit of the old school kind of one guy can hold the ball up or create a bit of space for Kyogo then to run into the space, and you never know, it could generate something a bit more positive for us.
Totally agree with both of you. That, like, I hope as a wee throwback on the, like you said, the little and large guy up front. Now, I'll kind of come straight back to you, Anthony. It's maybe a wee bit unfair on Bo, considering he's only recently returned to the, well, that. But I think I know where this is going then. And maybe it is a wee bit unfair on the fact that he's just came back for international duty. But do you think we can read much into the fact that he was there available, but he still pumped for Adam Ida up front?
I think we'd read into it a bit too much. I'm not a big fan of bringing Adam Ida in on a short-term loan where there's no option to buy. We know fine well that if he does the deed up here, and he scores another 10 goals, let's say, between now and the end of the season and gets us over the line, there's going to be a clamour that we, as fans, start asking that we actually sign him as the Giakoumakis replacement. That O isn't quite well yet. But Norwich at that point, knowing that he scored, a dozen goals or something, is going to suddenly turn and go, 14 million. And we're going to go, nah, thank you. It's a bit of a daft one. And in that sense, I can see why a lot of people and myself would say it. Why would we develop him for Norwich's gain rather than giving O the chance? And the answer simply is that O, I don't think looks good enough quite yet. And weirdly, Adam Ida does, but I think that's more to do with the league that they both came from. O's came from Asia. He's not in a very physical league, although he looks like a physical guy. He's give or take a year younger, so he's still got a wee bit more development to do than Adam Ida does or did. But I think Ida's came from a more competitive league where he's already got that kind of experience to play at this level as such. The best thing we could do, we always get him loaned out, even to a St Mirren and Aberdeen, a Hibs, whoever it is, so he can get that game time experience, because I think there's a player there long term. But yeah, I've went on a tangent there to your actual question.
No, it's top.
O's not getting the starts now. Inevitably, O's not getting the start now because he's just not experienced enough and he's not ready for this, whereas Adam Ida is, although I don't think we're going to keep him long term. So catch-22, is it? Or something? Rock in a hard place? I don't know.
It kind of is. I totally understand what you're saying. That, and then I said, James, I'll come to yourself and ask the same question. I mean, I'm Anthony, where I believe there is a player in O, but it's getting harder and harder to kind of back that up, because he's been here over a year now. He's never nailed down a place. He's obviously had his moments and stuff that you can't take that away from him, but then usually when he's came in for the start, he's never really stepped up. Whereas Ida's came in an unfortunate situation for Ida. Is like, if you look at the optics at the third choice Norwich striker, and we're bringing him in as to bolster our squad, that's not really his fault. He could be a good player, and like Anthony said, he could come in, score a few goals, and then we're going, well, why did we not get the option to buy? Why did we not agree a fee and things? But could it be, I'd kind of alluded to it on a previous show, have we done this deal because the guy we really want, we can't get to the summer? But do you think we can read much into the fact that Ida started up front instead of O?
I think even just the way the manager talks about him, Ida, I think Ida, even including Kyogo, I think Ida's the number one striker at the moment. whether that's right or wrong is up for debate, but the way the manager's talking, and obviously we've seen it at the weekend. I know we're saying about playing two up front, but we didn't really. It was Kyogo was in behind, and Ida was your focal point up front. So I think Ida is the number one striker now. If I'm being totally honest, and look, I quite like O. I always brought in to be a third choice because I think at the time it was kind of assumed that we were going to be signing Cho as well, but he went to was it Midtjylland. So O was brought in to be a third choice, really. O's his goals to minutes must be really good. And look, I know obviously there's a lot of his game that he has to work on, but I think O's probably a bit more involved than Adam Ida when he plays. He's a bit more kind of chaotic up front, pretty much. Ida, I know he scored 2 goals and he set up the one at Aberdeen as well. And it sounds daft saying it. I know I'm fully aware of it, but see, apart from that, he's been largely anonymous in games. Which I know he's scored 2 and set up 1 in 3 games, and he's been anonymous. But
hold up, James. Did you just say that you reckon Ida's the number one striker, and then just tell us that he's being anonymous and shite?
that fits the bill. No, but I mean, in terms of the manager's thinking, obviously, I'm sure we would all say Kyogo is the number one striker. But in terms of the manager's thinking and the manager's style of play, if he was to pick one starting striker out of the 3, I think he would go with Adam Ida. But for me, between O and Ida, there isn't much between them, if I'm being honest.
Well, San Fran's coming in saying he thinks O's more physical. I don't know. I think Ida looks a lot bigger and more physical. Like, I think for me, I feel like you say it a lot with a lot of Celtic players. He's raw. Is what you would say is absolutely raw. And I just think for me, he just tries to score an absolute worldie. Nothing seems to be side footed. It's always rattled in. I mean, it comes off, it looks good, but for me, I'm looks like you want to say something, and I'm just jump in.
No, I was just trying to think about the style of players, and I'm trying to come up with how to say this without sounding absolutely stupid on a podcast. I think Ida's more the kind of hold-up player that we would like to play alongside Kyogo. That little and large thing that we talked about, he'll hold it all back into a defender, he'll muscle his way kind of into a bit of space and create something to lay off. Whereas and this is a bit that's going to sound absolutely ridiculous, although he's got the kind of size to him, he looks like he wants to be more of a Haaland kind of player. He's happy to get the ball and run with it a little bit and create his own space for his own goal, rather than Ida, who's probably more happy to hold the ball up and turn it to lay somebody else off, if that makes any sort of sense.
I know, I get what you're saying. It does. It seems more like where
he's not the same as Haaland. He's not on that level before anybody else.
No, better, obviously. Obviously. It feels like he wants to kind of get involved, whereas I don't think he does the type that cares about how many goals he scores. If that probably sounds stupid as well, considering he's a striker. But I think he likes to link up the play and just. It's one of them. As long as the team's winning, I'm not sure he'll actually be banging in the goals. Where I think, for me, he's got a bit of Dembele about him, a bit of Edward, where he wants to be involved more in the play and things like that. But I mean, I've just kind of been writing a laugh, and he's been compared to Haaland, Dembele, and Edward in the last 2 minutes here.
Can just as well start to talk about Bernabeu.
Nah,
he's basically a younger Messi, mind.
Aye. It was just by age and nationality. That's about it. He's left-footed. But even then, it's questionable. But we'll just kind of briefly talk in the second half. Like you mentioned it earlier, James, I did feel like when it's anonymous, as I agree, he did obviously occupied the defence well, but in terms of touches, I didn't think he had much. But when he did come off, it felt like something in the team felt different a wee bit. I still felt in the main we managed the game, but it did feel maybe like I don't know why I just maybe didn't bring on then, because it's a wee bit more pace. It's still that physicality up front. So what was your thoughts when he sort of went? Was it reverted back to sort of a type, if you like?
That was it. It just went back to type, and as soon as he done it, I don't know if the plan was maybe to be honest, I didn't really understand his subs because he had Awata on the bench. So if you were wanting to kind of shut up shop, surely Awata is the guy that you bring on for Kyogo and push McGregor on one. Bernardo for Kyogo. Bernardo, I know there was people kind of wanting to sign him up. See, based off what we've seen, I know he had that wee purple patch. He just doesn't do enough for me. And it's not that he's bad. He's just anonymous for the most part. And when he came on, and as I say, it's not a slight in him because it is just the system, but that was when St Mirren kind of put the foot down really, and they kind of dominated the last 20-25 minutes of the game more or less. So I didn't really understand his subs, and I hope that just proves to the manager as well that they three in the middle cannot play together. McGregor, O'Reilly and Bernardo are far too similar to try and play together. We either need a physical presence in there or just throw another striker on as we did at the weekend. And as I say, I'm not by any stretch saying that it was a perfect performance at the weekend. It wasn't. It was miles away from it. But I think we created more at the weekend than we did probably in the last 3 games combined. So the subs for me, it was the rank subs to make at the time, and hopefully the positive to come for it is that we don't need to see that again. That kind of that midfield trio.
It's a strange one. I have seen some things online as well, Anthony, where Bernardo has came on under a wee bit of sort of flack and things for his performances haven't been what we sort of seen, where he had that 4 or 5 games where he was flying. It looked like all this was needing was a wee run of games, but he has sort of going backwards the right term, but it just feels like, for me anyway as well, we're seeing a wee bit of what we've seen before sort of for this 4 or 5 games. I don't know how you feel about Bernardo and sort of how the second half panned out with the subs.
Bernardo's suffering from the same thing that, 2/3 of our squad suffers from. The projects. They're going to go through this kind of a run of games where they look good, 4 or 5 games. He needed those 3 games leading up to the Rangers game. He done well. He deserved his place in that team and that squad, and he was great in that game as well. But he's played, what would that make it, about 7 or 8 games on the bounce now, to some degree. He now needs dropped and now needs a rest because, he's 22, but he's a development player. He's a project, as is so many of our squad. Would I take Bernardo end of the season? Yeah, but I wouldn't probably be willing to pay, was it 6 million that's quoted as? I don't think he's worth that. If you look at Carter Vickers and Jota, the 2 previous loan to buys that were about that value as well, they deserve that value for us, for our club. And I'm all for spending a little bit more money, to speculate, to accumulate with the club and stuff. But Bernardo's not done enough, I don't think, to warrant that kind of fee. He's more of a, dare say, a £2 or £3 million buy, which is the range that we criticise. But he is a project sign. And if we're going to keep him, he stays as a project. But we need the rest of the squad to be so much more higher quality overall. Because as we notice quite a lot now, and again, another tangent that we've all heard before, if we have too many projects in the matchday squad, we've not got enough experience to see us through and to be able to combat some of the teams that we come up against. So Bernardo himself, I agree with James. He had a purple patch there. He looked good. But for me, not worth the £6 million just yet. Maybe another loan deal. Maybe
another loan deal will work, but then it's, would the player want that? It's like he says, at a young age, does he want it? I suppose it's a loan deal, but coming back to the same club, so it is a wee bit more settled and stuff. But I think the reported 6 million, it's at this stage it seems a bit much to pay for a guy that doesn't seem like he's really justifying it. But like I say, I think you make a good point, Anthony. His young project player is going to have these sort of patches where he'll be in and out the team and stuff. But we'll just kind of talk about our makeshift back four. Our Scales has played the majority of this season. In fairness to the guy, he's been been brilliant, in my opinion, anyway. But when you actually look at that back line, like Ralston, Wells, Scales, and Bernabe, and to think that for me anyway, I can't remember any sort of hairy moments. I mean, their set pieces were really good, but I felt in the main, including Joe Hart, defended it really well. There was never was never hiding behind the couch that I can remember and stuff. And there was obviously, I think you can see Scales of late. I'm not trying to advocate him for putting him out the team, but I think his distribution, passing out for the back and stuff, you can see it's no his game really. But when it comes to defending, he can get caught with the ball over the top, but I think he recovers well. But just coming to yourself as well, Anthony. There, what's your kind of thoughts on that back four? And if it was maybe Ibrox next week, would you be comfy with that?
No.
No. How do I feel about that?
As I said earlier, though, the change of formation, the two up top, kind of blinded me from seeing that before the game actually started. And you realise, oh crap, that's a backline that you see traditionally with Celtic in the qualifiers or the first couple of games of the season, where you turn around and say, don't worry, guys, after the window's closed, we'll not see that line up again. That's just a makeshift. That is just was. Unfortunately, that backline is far too common these days. But credit where it's due, they actually did not bad. I don't ever want to see that back four lineup like that ever again, to be honest. But yeah, credit where it's due, they held up well. Joe Hart has been pretty damn good the last few games as well. He struggles out of a couple of holes, but they didn't look too shaky as a backline overall. I think Scales is not the quality for Champions League level that we want. But see what he's done so far this season. He's been absolutely outstanding, and he's been quite assured of himself. He was great. Stephen Welsh as well. I think it was maybe James in the group chat. I actually said I can't remember. He gets a bit of a hard time, doesn't he? With his injuries, or kind of just getting the fans getting on his back a bit too much. But see, overall, when he actually does play, he's pretty solid. He definitely needs more experience and more game time, but he's generally pretty solid. But overall, no, you don't want to see that lineup. Sorry, I'm starting to praise them a bit too much. It was a shite lineup.
As a scary sort of back four, James, when you actually, I mean, and take all of them in isolation, but Ralston, I think you know what you're going to get for the guy. He'll give you all the heart in the world. I think his commitment will never be questioned. His quality sometimes will, but I think it was maybe yourself that's even said that. I think with Ralston, you're not going to get any less than a 6 or a 7 out of 10. I think he'll probably never be the reason you lost a game as Ralston. I think defensively covers his cell all right. Scales, I think, like we said, I think from a personal point of view for him himself, he's worked wonders in this team, albeit through a bit of luck with injuries and stuff. But he's been brilliant. I feel Welsh. I hear he's gave you a Christmas card once, so you might be a wee bit biased here when it comes in. But I thought it was interesting that he started ahead of a fit Navrocki, who you would. I know money doesn't mean everything, but you spent a big chunk of your transfer budget on him. He's fit, and Welsh is getting ahead of him. Bernabe, I will admit, it was okay, but taking him into isolation, I didn't want to get anywhere near the team. But just fair play to Anthony as well. It was Joe Hart, I think, has been good the last few games, and he had a few good saves yesterday. And maybe he's just marshalling this sort of makeshift backlines that we've got now through games. But I just come to yourself, James. What, like, when you seen that starting sort of back four in that?
Aye, it's alarm bells in it when you see it. In fairness to Joe Hart, look, his biggest critic, man, I would have had him gone in the summer, but I think since we've come back for the winter break, Joe Hart's probably been our best player, probably comfortably our best player as well, in terms of consistency. The back four, Ralston, I'm no Ralston's biggest fan. If I'm being totally honest, I know he's a kind of dependable backup, but I just think we should be looking for a wee bit better. But maybe, and admittedly that is probably a bit harsh. I thought it was all right at the weekend. The centre half thing is the big thing I take for it, as you're saying. You've spent 5 million in the Vrotsky, and then all of a sudden we've decided that 2 guys that were already here should be ahead of him, essentially saying they're better than him. But the thing is, well, the Lagerbielke thing just gets stranger by the day. I think it was Alistair Jack was saying in the comments earlier he wasn't on the bench again either. And if the chat about Carter Vickers not been out for as long as we feared, then I don't know. It just feels as if that's been kind of mismanaged a wee bit, to be honest. But no, in terms of the defensive side, I thought 3 of the back 4 played well. And Bernaby, as I say, man, his middle name should just be I actually thought he was all right. Because every day that's all you ever hear. I actually thought Bernaby was all right. And he just isn't. The guy is shite. He's rank rotten. I mean, we say that in the group chat. Was it? I actually think it was yourself, Megan. He skips past 2 players, and you're thinking, all right, he was going to do something here. No, just passes it straight back to a St Mirren player. I think he got up to the byline once, and he crosses it right behind the goals. I think he had a shot that probably hit the space station, but nah, he just doesn't do it for me. Look, he tries, but I mean, if we're setting the bar so low as trying is going to make you all right, then we're never going to get anywhere. And I don't understand it. But like, the way people going about him, you would think he'd be due a fucking call up for Argentina. The guy is rank rotten. He is utter shite. He'll never know be utter shite. Sometimes he might not be as shite as he's been, but he just, I don't particularly like Greg Taylor either, but fucking hell, he makes Greg Taylor look like Roberto Carlos. It just does not do it for me.
I think I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be Taylor's biggest fan, but I think it shows you that there is a massive drop-off between Taylor and Bernaby. Now, maybe some of me and others saying Bernaby was all right or okay the last 2 games is just he's not really set a very high bar. So he's not really got much, that sort of a glass ceiling for Bernaby isn't very high for him to maybe impress guys like me at the end of the day. But I mean, if Bernaby doesn't play at the weekend, I'll be more than happy. But it's almost like needs must now and just get through. But I think Rodgers said after the game that Taylor will be available for the weekend. But I think maybe just with being at Parkhead, maybe just ease him in. I don't know if maybe that's part of the reason Carter Vickers is back out. I feel maybe he was rushed back, and I'm wondering if that's maybe why O'Reilly's suffering a wee bit now. I think he went, it was against Ross County where he seemed to have a back injury, and I just didn't think he's really performed well since then. So I'm cautiously rushing guys. As much as I would gladly not see Bernaby in the team, I'm also cautiously rushing guys by that'll result in Bernaby quickly back in the team.
Aye, no, we seem to be experts at rushing him back for injury anyway, but mate, honestly, as I said, I'd even stick Scales at left back and put Nawrocki in. I'm fed up watching him, fed up hearing people try. But he runs and he's quick, and no, he's just shite. He's never going to be shite. We've tried it, it's failed, it's not worked. Just let that be the end of it.
Aye, I don't anything to add to that there, Anthony, on the enigma that is Bernaby.
He's got Bernaby on the back of that tap.
Well, because he is shite at the end of the day. I want him. He's one of those ones, and maybe it's just because he's Argentinian and we've all got a love affair for Messi and the likes. But I've got a hope that he does come good. But it's clear as day that he's no good really at all. People said he used to be a left winger and he kind of fell into being a left back, and maybe we should play him a 3-5-2 or play him up on the left side of a 4-3-3 or something. And I get the thinking a little bit, but even then, he's still not that good. I mean, look at that shot that went to the space station, as James says. He's just not very good anyway. I would love him to work out for us, but it's no going to. The big problem that we have at Celtic is, what do we do in the meantime? Because, yeah, Greg Taylor's possibly back at the weekend is what Rodgers says. Do we rush Taylor back and then he potentially gets injured? Possibly. Do we give Bernaby another week and maybe he comes good? Probably not. But see, by the time we get to the end of the season, boys, we're still having an issue where Greg Taylor's your number one left back, and even Greg Taylor's still shite.
No, I mean, I think a lot of folk like Gio's agreeing with James about Bernabé and Dion saying about how I agree he's just a pork chop, the guy's a banger. I think that kind of sums up Bernabé just fine. I think it's one of them where Bernabé's rank. Bernabé's rank. I don't think it's hard to make a case for the guy, especially when I don't like him. But I've got to go on to Callum McGregor because I think online and even in a group chat yesterday got kind of sort of mixed reviews. Anthony, I don't know where you sort of seen his game, and I think kind of sort of recently as well, where the performances haven't maybe been great. That he's coming under a wee bit of flack. I don't know if it's just a wee bit unfair him being the captain, but I'm not like he's clearly not a bad player. But where are you standing with the captain now?
It's inevitable that he's going to get the flack at some point. The whole team this season has been subpar, to be fair. We've had a lot of players out injured. I don't think I'd be surprised. Somebody in the comments maybe can bring it up. I'd be surprised if we've had one game this season where we've had everybody fit and free to choose from, let alone the fact that we've probably got 4 or 5 players out all the time. I don't think McGregor was too bad at the weekend. I don't think he's been too bad all season, but inevitably he's going to catch some flack eventually because everyone is a little bit below par. And as a captain, as the engine room in the midfield, he takes the responsibility as much as anybody else. He needs to be the guy on the pitch that's going to drive the tempo and drive the players forward when things are going kind of a bit stale. And he tries and he does his best, and he is a good captain. I'm not going to take anything away from him. We've spoke for the last few weeks, the last month here, that if it wasn't for the fact that Scott Brown has been here, was at Celtic for so many years, he's probably every bit as decorated as Scott Brown is, just not with the name of captain next to him. He's an absolutely fantastic player. I'm not going to start criticising too much. But it's inevitable that sometime he was going to catch a bit of flack because every player deserves a bit of flack in this squad right now. Not one person really comes out of it the last few months kind of with flying colours and looking like they're great. Nobody's carrying this team. We're all just a bit kind of lethargic with how we play.
I know. I do agree with a lot of that there, Anthony. And I think he is maybe just guilty, James, of being the captain. Performances haven't been great. You're just looking to pick on something. You'll maybe initially look to your captain first. He is in that sort of in the engine room in the middle of the park where he can dictate a lot of games. He has, in fairness to him, he's, for me anyway, the 2 derby matches, he's absolutely controlled the games. And maybe just us as fans are looking for him to do that more when the sort of chips are down, when performances haven't been up to much.
I think McGinty's hitting the nail on the head there. The performances this season, pretty much throughout the full team, probably barring O'Reilly and arguably Scales, it's been subpar. McGregor falls within that as well. But in terms of the game at the weekend, I thought McGregor was man of the match. I thought he was really good, especially in the first half. He was getting on the ball quite a lot, controlling the tempo. It felt as if anything good we done, it was kind of gone through him in the middle of the park. I'd seen, obviously, I know we've seen in the group chat, but I've seen him getting a bit of stick as well on Twitter, which did kind of surprise me. But I thought on yesterday, I thought the 2 standouts were Callum McGregor and Joe Hart. And that, obviously, I am by no means a Joe Hart fan, but I thought the 2 of them were really good. Joe Hart looked a lot more comfortable. We must have had about fucking 400 corners against us, it felt like. To no concede for one makes some difference. And Joe Hart was actually coming out, no claiming them, but punching them as goalkeepers do these days. So the 2 of them shared the man of the match for me, and I was surprised to see McGregor getting a bit of stick. I've said before, I think it's only highlighted further in Europe, but I think generally when we're playing that kind of flat 4-3-3, the position that he's asked to play, he's not got the physicality to play it, playing the deepest of the 3. That's not his fault. And as I said on Friday as well, it's not even as if it's just a Brendan Rodgers thing. It's been the last couple of managers that have played him in there. And I don't think it's any surprise, but for me at least anyway, I think Callum McGregor played his best football when Awata was in the team. And obviously he can play old man and free him up. But I agree with what you're saying. Like when you're maybe going through a tough patch, then your captain is the one you'll look to, and if he's performing subpar, then he is going to take a bit of flack. But I thought at the weekend McGregor was really good.
No, I thought he was good as well. It was just, I was similar to you. Obviously there was a couple in our group chat had mentioned they thought he was poor. Then you start seeing it online, and I was like, I must have watched a totally different game because I did not think he was poor. But it maybe is just a bit of that suffering for being the captain. And I do agree. Like Ross certainly has always been a big advocate of Awata, which is, I'm not saying strange in the terms like because the guy's rotten. It's just he's not featured as much as I think we'd all expect. But he has got a bit of love within the fan base. I think a lot of the fans can see a player in him, and as one of the reasons, maybe because you can get Callum McGregor further up the park. I don't know. Just kind of, where do you stand with Awata there, Anthony? Or
I'd have him in. I kind of go back to the Bernardo conversation earlier. We had that purple patch 4 or 5 games over the kind of festive period where Bernardo really staked that place for himself, and he deserved that run of games, and he deserves to get a few games after the winter break as well. But I think it's becoming quite apparent that although it's nowhere near as bad, Bernardo and O'Reilly are two similar kind of players, the same way that O'Reilly and Turnbull were very similar players. So you kind of cancel each other out. And I wouldn't say we're quite a man down as I would have said if Turnbull was involved, but it does feel like we're missing something, and that's something that we're missing is the dogged defensive kind of get in your face kind of player that definitely Hatate can be, but Awata possibly could be that same kind of player almost. So I think personally for me, I would put Awata in there to allow Callum McGregor to move forward a little bit and do a bit more of his kind of box to box kind of role that he's better at doing, and then allow O'Reilly to kind of do his forward play that he's definitely better at. There's just a bit of balance if you have a guy like Awata, and so if he's back fit and knowing that Hatate's out for another 5-6 weeks, I would have Awata in there easily.
Same for myself. Like I would like to see, as much as I have been impressed with Bernardo of late, I would like to see Awata maybe get in there just to bring. Well, I'm saying to bring McGregor forward, but then if we're advocating James to get Awata in the team, then we're not getting our two strikers. But where do you sit with Awata anyway? Since we'll start to talk about.
No, if we were going the 4-3-3, and I said this previously before Bernardo hit his purple patch as well, but if we were playing the 4-3-3 that we've played, my midfield three would be Awata sitting deep with McGregor and O'Reilly in front of him. As I say, every midfielder we've got apart from Awata, McGregor, obviously Turnbull in the first half of the season, but literally everybody else, McGregor, Holm, O'Reilly, they all want to do the same thing. They're all more forward-thinking players. So when you put the three of them together and you're asking McGregor, which I think he's no suited to sit as the kind of deep-lying kind of, I know he's a deep-lying playmaker, but you're playing the deepest, obviously you're going to need to try and break the play up as well. And you maybe get away with it domestically, but in Europe is where it's majorly highlighted. So Awata in there for me with O'Reilly and McGregor in front of him if you're playing that 4-3-3. But obviously, as me and Willie advocated on Friday night, it's got to be Kyogo in the 10 moving forward.
I always, and maybe this is just playing too much Football Manager in my old days, but I've always advocated.
We all do it, and it turns us into managers.
I have a notepad and everything. Don't worry. But I've always loved the idea of having a 25-man squad, and I know it's not perfect and ideal for the real world and bloated teams and players who don't want to leave and stuff. So it's more like 30, 35 that we end up having. But I like the idea of having the 3-man midfield, and we have a starting 3, and we have a true backup 3 for all 3 positions. And see if you're going to say like McGregor, Hatate, and O'Reilly is the first three that go down, then I'm looking at Awata, Holm and Bernardo as possibly the backup three. Could it be that at some point in time in this season, why not drop O'Reilly and allow Bernardo to go in and have that midfield to see if Bernardo can do something there, or equivalent drop McGregor and put Awata in? Would it be so weird to, instead of trying to play Bernardo and O'Reilly or trying to play McGregor and somebody else together, why not really change it up a little bit and give these players, as we're kind of saying just now, that kind of balance in the midfield three, so we're not playing two similar players and somebody gets cancelled? Actually give the balance to the midfield better.
I know, I totally understand what you're saying. Sometimes managers can be guilty of trying to just play their best players, just get their best players in the team at the end of the day. So I understand what you're saying and stuff. And like I say, Awata has not really featured a lot, especially for Rodgers. So it's hard to try and see how you get him in the team. And like I said, I just feel sometimes managers, you go back to Lennon as well, he just felt like he played his best players just felt, oh well, we've got better players in the park, so it'll work. And sometimes it doesn't. You just nail it. Look at that balance. But we're talking about guys that are not really getting in the team. There was, I say, a notable absentee. I don't really think nobody really noticed it until after the game. Realised that our man Liel Abada wasn't even in the starting lineup. Now we all, before Rodgers had kind of confirmed it, were like, well, maybe he's picked up an injury. Read between the lines what might have happened, but obviously Rodgers came out and I'm paraphrasing, said like his head wasn't in the right place. We've obviously been talking to each other, talking and stuff. But James, where do you see Celtic and Liel Abada?
If I'm being honest, I think he's probably kicked the last ball for us. It's a shame that it's had to end this way. It's not really ended within the club's fault. I understand he's obviously going to have things on his mind. He's going to have pressures for back in his home country. It's not Abada's fault. It's not the Celtic support's fault. It's nobody's fault. I feel sorry for the guy in the situation that he finds himself in. But obviously, without getting into the political side of it, which, given the situation, it's pretty difficult. Mm-hmm. But it can't be an easy situation for the guy. That being said, it was still horrendous on Wednesday when he's coming on. you need to show something. So, but after the back of that on Wednesday and the manager's comments, it's hard to see him coming back. And I think it's a shame, to be honest, because I think, as I said, like, Abada tends to split opinion. I liked him. I thought he would really kick on, especially when we appointed Rodgers, because as we've seen first time round, no worked out that way, but he tends to improve players and really bring them on. And I was quite excited to see Abada this season. So with the way it's went, it's a shame, but I think he's probably kicked his last ball for us. I know there's still some countries that's get their transfer windows open, so I don't know if I say get him out on loan. I mean, really 6 months isn't going to make a difference, or 4 months, but he'll probably be shipped on in the summer anyway, and I don't think we'll get anywhere near the fee that he's worth, or the fee that we probably would have got last year.
I know, I totally agree. And Jed's on a similar sort of train of thought. Like we're saying, the club and fans are not to blame for a bad situation. Please don't list that they made them piss. I think that's fair, Anthony and stuff, and obviously focusing about the narrative being pushed and stuff. And I it's what James is saying, it's true. I do feel sorry for the guys. He's in an unfortunate situation. Obviously, folk online will begin him stick. There's rumours that obviously he's getting certain threats for back home. You just didn't know how true that is. I think obviously the Israeli manager's been very public in how he's not saying threatened him, but his treatment has not been fair, I would say, to Abada, being such a young lad. And I've seen obviously folk online making a big deal about him constantly going down the tunnel after games, not celebrating with the fans. But me, I'm looking at that going, well, there is plenty of Palestinian flags, more so it feels now due to how the conflict has been more highlighted and stuff. And for Abada's sake, whether like James said, without getting the political side, regardless of what side you look at that as, it's no Abada's fault. If he looks at, if there's pictures get taken of him celebrating and there's Palestinian flags there, you just didn't know how that will be perceived back in his hometown, especially his home country and stuff. So I feel he's in an unfortunate circumstance where I think going down the tunnel straight after the game maybe is best. So that picture, that image of him celebrating the Palestinian flag there, he's no celebrating because of the Palestinian flag, but you just didn't ken how that gets interpreted back over there and stuff. I do feel sorry for the guy, how it's just the way it's working out for him.
Aye, 100%, and completely agree with you. Politically, we need to try and separate it from football and from the individuals. And I know collectively as a support, we do lean a certain way. We're not going to deny it. We do have sympathies for the Palestinians and the struggles over there. But you can't blame a 23-year-old footballer because he was born and raised in a certain part of the world that he had no choice in. And I don't care what his political affiliation is. He plays for Celtic. He knows who Celtic are. We know who he is. He's a human being. He's a footballer. That's it at the end of the day. If he's happy to be at Celtic and to play for us, I'm happy to have Abada at the club. I think he's a great talent. He's definitely work done on his development and his football ability. Overall, he needs to add more to his game, and I think he was starting to show that in parts near the end of the season, the start of this season. Injuries have not helped him, and they've not helped him at a time where, stuff that is happening back in Israel and in October and in the last few months, it's not helped him coming back in now where this is coming on top of it all. And if he's getting threats from back in Israel and the national team managers making comments, and I dare say innuendo is probably too soft a word for it, but Abada needs to take a step in a moment to realise that's not coming from Celtic fans and that's not coming from Celtic. He signed a 4-year deal recently for us. He's happy here. He knows what this club's about. He knows what our fans are about. The fact that we are collectively pro-Palestine is no surprise to him. So I don't think he's got a real big issue with us as a club and a support. And he probably does realise that the vast, vast majority of fans are sympathetic to people like Abada. At the end of the day, that's enough. I don't want to really get into anything else about him because we don't know what he's actually thinking. His mental state must be absolutely shot right now. And I don't blame him that his performances probably haven't been the best since he's came back. But at the end of the day, he's a footballer. If he wants to be at the club, I'm happy for him being here. He gives 100%. We're all good. If he doesn't want to be here, by all means, I'm not going to judge him for this being just a bit too much for him. Not going to criticise him anything. If he wants to move on, I'll understand it and off he goes if that's the case. But first and foremost, I'd rather he stayed. Franny, you're muted.
So, Mara, I totally forgot I was muted myself there. It's because it's absolutely pissing in here and it was like thunder and lightning earlier than that.
Mate, that's what I'm looking at. I've got a blizzard, man. I've got like fucking a bit of snow hanging on my window.
Like I could proper hear it against the window and I was like, I wonder if that's actually coming across there. So I'd actually like muted myself and totally forgot I'd done it. But I know I totally feel sorry for Abada, and like I say, it's a horrible, horrible situation for anybody. When like I say, it's not his fault. You say that he signed a contract. Like this whole, again, without going into this whole conflict didn't start on the 7th of October. He'd signed a contract well before that and things like that. So he knew what it was all about and stuff. So it's horrible the way it's kind of transpiring. Sorry, James, what you got to say there?
No, I was just going to say, I think we do, like you're saying, obviously, the Israel and Palestine isn't anything new. Obviously, it's ramped up since October, and it's not as if seeing Palestinian flags at Celtic Park's anything new. Thinking back to the Beersheba game, just in general. But the benefit of hindsight, and look, I know it's all coming out with Rodgers' comments. It's maybe a wee bit surprising that we didn't look to at least get him out on loan in January, maybe to take the heat off him a wee bit. Because I mean, the guy must know. Look, you'll get the odd kind of comment online as you do, but the guy must know that he's got kind of the majority of the support's support. I can't mind the game he came back, but when he came off the bench, he probably get the loudest cheer that day. So it's just a shame the way it's worked out, but I think he's kicked the last ball for us.
I think so. I think we might see him, but it'll be interesting. I've just kind of brought that comment. I thought it was I think it's quite good there for Paul McFarlane. It brings us on to our next subject quite good. How he's talking about it's no Snowdale outside. It's Martindale's ordered a new supply. And on that note, we'll talk about our opponents in the quarterfinals of the Scottish Cup. It is Davy Martindale's Livingston, James, and for me, I mean, I know Greenock Morton are still in the cup, but I don't think we could have. I think we got the easiest tie there. Livingston for me are absolutely horrible this season. We've got them at home. I don't think you could have asked for an easier tie.
Mate, as I said the other night, I think it's quite a difficult tie. You're forgetting how experienced Martindale is with quarters. But nah, you should do on paper. It's an absolute scoosh in it. As you say, you couldn't have asked for an easier tie at home. So I hopefully get the job done, and that's us on to Hampden.
What about yourself, Anthony? Any add about the quarter final draw? And I mean, living away sometimes is a predominantly hard fixture, but even now they're just, for me, David Martindale's just getting everything he deserves now. You can't just constantly keep moaning about your budget. And then...
No, of course no. But it's the Livy away, which is where we always get the difficult thing. It's the same as Kilmarnock, isn't it? We fear that plastic pitch more than anything else. Well, I'm just looking at the fixture list there. We have 4 games before then. Not the easiest of games, Kilmarnock, Motherwell, Dundee and Hearts. But if we can get winning results and performances in all 4 of those games leading up to the Livy game, then people are talking about this word momentum that the other mob have that we don't have. But if we can start building on the last 2 games, that late penalty against Hibs, the kind of positive result and somewhat positive performance at the weekend, if we keep building on it, then the Livingston game in the quarterfinal should be a scushion. As James said, we should be marching on to Hampden, where I'd imagine we'll end up playing the dirty mob.
We might get Hearts in the semis. You never know.
That's fine.
No, but it's interesting that run of fixtures, and like you say, winning, it's a good habit to be in. And if you win the 4 fixtures going into that, then that'll be, if we can box A4 games off with 12 points, I'll be more than happy with where we are and things. It will be a tricky round of fixtures. But as for the podcast, that's us. He's enjoyed it tonight, lads.
Definitely. Good podcast as always, boys. Good to be on.
Good. Well, just all it's left for me to say is thank everybody that was watching and then tune in. I think we're doing one on Wednesday. We weren't going to because it's Valentine's Day, but everybody's romantic in this group chat, so we're doing a podcast on Wednesday. So if he's for the folk that aren't got to be doing it on Valentine's Day, we'll see his Wednesday for a wee double pivot, a wee bit of fun, but we'll bid you farewell for the night and we'll see his Wednesday. See you later.
Who will